George's audit of Indiana Jones, the Dial of Predetermination. Indy battles chrono-Nazis and the Roman army subsequent to turning back the clock to collaborate with Archimedes the Greek. With no specific circumstance, the watcher is dropped into a Nazi loot train, where we find a youngish Indy sneaking around through boxes. He finds Hitler's Spear of Predetermination, an item with no pertinence to the film. In the wake of shooting a Goliath opening in a Nazi's chest and afterward cleverly taking the uniform off the body, Indy neglects to convincingly make sense of why he seems to have a monster wound. The battle is on. We rapidly get familiar with Hitler's spear as a phony. There is no further reference to the item in the film. Okay, however, what had Indy's tag-along smaller person found? Indeed, truth be told, this loot train holds a phony Hitler spear, yet additionally a genuine Archimectron. Or that's what on the other hand some Greek poop like portending. In the wake of disappearing to the highest point of the train, Indy gallantly utilizes a rooftop-mounted enemy of airplane weapon implied for felling planes, to shred the whole train hard-heartedly. Unnecessarily, we are shown this remembers around 4 vehicles worth of Nazis for rest vehicles. For reasons unknown, the whole slaughter is unwarranted, as the track over a waterway is out of nowhere besieged by a plane. With the train made a beeline for the void, the supervisor-level Nazi gets a utility pole to the chest. Blur to dark. Change scene. Indy is remaining in grimy garments, looking confounded. It is indistinct on the off chance that we are seeing the outcome of dynamic fancies, or a memory. Indy is currently plainly grandad age. For reasons unknown, Indy has been stirred by clearly music from a neighbor. Indy steps down the steps with a bat, ready to mind the guilty party. His neighbor brushes him off, making sense of, it's Moon Day. We gain proficiency with a touch of setting it is 1969, and the Americans are going to arrive on the moon. From that point, we figure out Supervisor Nazi is, in all honesty, the Werner von Braun of the Indy universe. What's more, he endured the post to the chest. Played by, as a matter of fact, the star of Hannibal, anything that the screw that creep's name is, we are shown manager Nazi embrace a mean bigoted discussion with a steward of Variety. Laying on the portending pretty thick, manager Nazi offers with the steward that Hitler lost the conflict the partners didn't win. What's more, maybe things would be different were another person in charge. Duuuuhh. Change scene. Manager Nazi has obviously been chasing after dwarf Tagalong for quite a long time, and we track down that smaller people girl is Indy's understudy. He instructs still. Manager Nazi had in some way tracked down the girl. This lady, whom Indy calls as it were, Wombat, ends up being Indy's goddaughter. From that point, manager Nazi butchers Indy's associates for not a great explanation. After the butcher, we learn manager Nazi is searching for the Archimectricon so he can travel once more into the past and lead an upset, assume control over the Third Reich himself, and do it up genuine dreadful this time around. Indy getaways to the Mediterranean Ocean, where a jumper played by Antonio Banderas takes them to a place where they find a tablet driving the way to the last part of the Aikmaterin. With evident godlike area abilities, Supervisor Nazi tracks down them on the vast sea. Indy some way or another figures out how to endure a shot to the heart. The Nazis take the gadget, and bring Indy along in a plane to make sure they can brag when they return to past 1939. Chuckling, Indy lets them know not all that quick. We learn Archimedes, the creator of the Archimectron, had hardly any familiarity with mainland float. The Nazis' chrono ranges are off base. Unfit to cut short, Indy and the Nazis are sucked into a period vortex. From that point, the Nazis find something is off base. The gadget has landed them in the Peloponnesian conflict, and the Romans are attacking Sicily. The Romans think they are a Sicilian mythical beast. For not a great explanation, the Nazis choose to fly the plane close enough to Roman ballistas vehicle estimated bolts. The plane is shot. After numerous Nazis take monster spikes through the chest, lead cohort goes off the deep end and starts brutally butchering the Romans with automatic weapon discharge. Indy gets away from the plane on a parachute, which is currently going down subsequent to taking a monster fucking grass dart to the motor. A Greek approaches the crashed plane, and gets the Archimectron. It is unequivocally suggested that this is as a matter of fact the designer of the gadget himself, Archimedes. Archimedes then, at that point, strolls over to Indy, where Indy lets him know he is a person who goes back and forth through time. Brian fuck. Archimedes goes to his Greek flunky and declares, "Aha! It worked." We are shown the Roman lines breaking, with scores of dead machine-gunned Roman casualties littering the ocean side. Indy and the goddaughter get away from on a plane that followed the Nazis just because to give a ploy gadget so Indy can return to the present. The finish of the film is an old Harrison Portage making out with a 80-year elderly person.